Hey guys, how you doing? This is Zed from Zed Outdoors. I hope you're having an awesome day. So I am with Mr. Lee Stoffer. Lee, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Zed.
Excellent stuff, man. So you're wondering who is Lee, okay? So I know half of you still trying to work out who I am, but hopefully you figured out I'm Zed Outdoors. So I am with Lee Stoffer. Lee Stoffer is a very accomplished green woodworker based in Milton Keynes, which is about 20 minutes outside London. So it's about an hour and a half roughly from where I live. And the reason why I'm seeing Lee is we connected a while ago. We've been keeping in touch. And like I said, Lee's a very accomplished green woodworker and tool maker, and I know him from the green woodworking kind of clique of friends that I've been building over the past year. And Lee, everyone spoke very, very highly of Lee as opposed to me, right? But hey, I could be like you one day, Lee.
One day.
One day, if I'm good. But no, the reason why I've come down to see Lee today is in his abode, okay, his workshop here, is to sit down, and he's very kindly going to be helping me out on my green woodworking journey. And one of the things is you focus on the spoon side of things, don't you? So spoon carving, and
that's me.
There's a lot to it. And Lee's fantastic, extremely skilled at carving spoons, and a lot of the kind of final detail that goes with it. And while with him today, I thought I'd take an opportunity, with Lee's kind permission, to record a tutorial on how he carves a spoon. Now, granted, I've done one before with Jules Swan that we both know. And it was quite a lengthy kind of video. So what I want to do, I'm going to record this in a slightly different way. Now the reason why I'm recording another spoon carving video is because everyone has their own interpretation on it. I've learned that very quickly. It's always interesting to see how other people approach carving their spoons, and everyone has their own little nuances of what they do and what they don't do. But what I want to do, I want to record this video in a slightly different way. I'm not going to do a huge amount of talking, because otherwise we'll be here for like the next hour and a half, 2 hours doing a video. And I don't want to put you through that. So what we're going to do, we're still going to show pretty much most of the process. Pardon me, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to let Lee kind of run with it. So we're not going to be able to explain every single thing. And I'm sure if you've got any specific questions, you can comment down below in the video. Also, I'm going to put a link to Lee's stuff. That's a given. He's present on YouTube and social media himself, and I'm sure they can hit. You can hit Lee up, ask him the questions. So like I said, this video I want to keep it very to the point. So without further ado, with your kind permission, what I'll do, I'll jump behind the camera and we'll get straight in with the spoon carving.
Let's do it.
Okay then, Lee, so where do we begin?
Right, basically we begin with what we're going to call a radial cleft, which is a radially cleft section of a larger log. So basically from the centre, split out to the edge. So you start by halving it, quartering it, turn it into eighths, etc. So then we're going to end up with a piece like this, which I've then just quickly knocked the corners off to get down to a billet like this, which we're going to work with. It's not particularly exciting, so we left that stage out. At this stage I've basically got a piece that's about 1 inch by 2 inches by 4 inches roughly. I've decided that the bowl is going to be this end, and we're going to make a spoon a bit like this one. So the idea being is we've first of all got to put this shape in, so you can see we've got enough wood there to get that shape. Okay, so we need to decide where this change of direction is going to come, which is about here, about 2/3 from the front of the bowl. So I'm just going to start that off with a saw cut, just to give me something to axe down towards, and I only want to go about 10 or 12 millimeters. Take that straight across. So that's our stop line. A little bit short that side. So now we're going to axe down to that line from the handle end. Now I can't start right at the end, so I'm going to start low down, work my way up, and lever away the waste as I'm chopping. And what should happen when the axe starts to penetrate is that the grain, as it's severed, will just pop away from that stop cut. So we're left with this kind of step, a little bit deeper than the cut. Okay, so we've got that kind of shape going on. So now we want to remove this section here, like so. Can't really do that in the same way because I can't really hold and chop. So the way to achieve that is come around at it from the side, cutting across the grain and just creeping up on that line until we hit it, and then try and progress that line down, taking off the waste and just following the toe of the axe down the original saw cut. Okay. Just a couple of flaky bits there just hanging on. So now I can basically mirror that shape on the back. Okay, so there's our, what we call the crank, axed into the billet that we started with.
Okay, so you've got the template now.
I've got a template here that I've cut from a piece of clear material called polypropylene. It's actually the surface that goes on a mouse mat. Anyway, this line on the template is going to sit across where we cut with the saw, so that's the lowest point of the bowl, and I'm just going to quickly give myself this rough shape of the spoon that we're going to be making, which is a small eating spoon. Doesn't have to be too accurate, but just to give me a line. The reason I use the pink or purple coloured pens is just simply because it stands out against the colour of the wood in most cases. So that's kind of the shape that we're going to be looking for now. Again, at this stage, a couple more saw cuts will help to guide the axe work. So I'm going to saw in from the edge almost into the narrowest part of the neck, and the same from the other side. Taking care not to go too far in, and then we want to remove some of this waste. So by doing this, by putting that cut in, whatever waste I split off from here shouldn't continue down into the bowl. So I'm going to just start with the axe on top, just drop it, and you can see that just drops off. Same the other side, just drop that bit off, and then it's a case of just using the axe to follow that line. Hopefully you can see that okay on the camera, and just again just lever that waste away when we get close to that change in direction. Taking care not to drop the axe into this end grain, which could start a split that runs through our bowl. So get rid of the waste there. Okay. Now this is where the little slots in the block come in. It just enables me to be axing this part whilst the neck of the bowl is still supporting, depending on where I use it on the block to find that support that I'm after. In this case, because I'm going to be actually bearing down on that point, it's not too much of an issue, but this just helps to support the handle. And we get fairly close to the line, but not too close, hopefully. And I can spin it round into this slot and support again, support the neck on this part of the block. I'm just following the line. And just twisting at the last part of the stroke just to push that waste away. Okay. Again, hopefully just crack the side of the bowl off there. Same the other side. these little corners here, probably best going back the other way. If in doubt, engage the edge and then drop the pair together. Another little option here to just clip these corners is to lay it flat on the block, then use the axe a bit like a guillotine and just rock the edge through it. Again here, just to take that corner off and keep nice and out of control. You can just use it to tidy up. This bit we can chop across the grain as long as we're supported, otherwise we could end up splitting. And take that corner off like that, and as long as we come back and support that end grain again, coming at a bit of an angle, we can do that. And then again, just use that kind of guillotine manoeuvre just to nibble that back to the line, just rocking through the end grain. As long as this is supported, we shouldn't have any problems with any kind of splits going on. Okay. So now I've basically got the shape of a spoon, but it's still pretty thick and square. So the next thing is just to basically start taking these corners off. I normally start with the handle, so I'm going to start working at kind of 45 degrees across this sharp edge from the back of the bowl. Okay, so as we can see, it's still quite thick here. We want to take these edges off of both the handle and the bowl itself. So I'm just going to start that process with the back of the bowl. So I'm starting from our change of direction point at about 45 degrees to that corner point, and just running down the handle all the way, same both sides, just to make sure there's not too much material, and then leaving all the thickness here. Just want to taper out the handle a little bit more. Until we get to something sensible. Okay, and then from there we want to sort of follow this round, so we're going to take that point there and try and follow it round to the front of the bowl. Just again by kind of keeping the axe dropping in the same place and rotating the spoon around it. Get that down to about 5mm. Same for this side.
So you go quite close with the axe, don't you?
I think the more work that you can do with the axe, the better. You do occasionally obviously drop it in the wrong place and maybe have to change the design of the spoon slightly, or just modify what you were intending to do in something slightly different. But if you've got something to work to, there you go. You've got a reasonably well axed out blank, which shouldn't take too long now to finish with a knife. There's not any real value in going any further with the axe. What I will just do is just to cut these shoulders in for the finial before we leave the block, just with the saw again. Little cut in there, just a little cut in there, just so you can see, and then cut it to length, because the end grain is much easier to trim with a saw than an axe. And then again I can just use the tip of the axe just to poke those little bits out, just putting the point where I want it and then rocking in to that cut just to remove those. So that's basically the axe work done. You could take a little bit longer and just sort of doing push cuts with an axe like this, but probably got better control over a knife. So that's the stage to kind of stop and move on to a different tool.
So Mr. Lee Stoffer, we're on to the knife work.
We are, and just to begin with, before I go any further, I'm just going to sort of pre-hollow the bowl area just a little bit. It can help with putting the shape into the rim if there's a little bit less wood there in the first place. So some roughing cuts with the scorp. I generally work with it off the side of my leg. I don't like really pulling towards my thumb, so I just kind of rock it through the wood, making sure that my knuckles stay in contact with my leg, so I'm not kind of dragging it towards myself too aggressively. You can put your thumb on the side of the bowl. That's a fairly conventional way of doing it. It just gives you the opportunity of sort of slipping and cutting your thumb. So I tend to move the thumb out of the way and just use the rotation just to get some of the waste out. You can also, because it's got the double edge on the blade, or a left and a right-handed blade, you can use a chest lever cut to remove some of the waste from the bowl, which gives you plenty of leverage. So just generally, as long as I know that my knuckles are in contact with my leg, I can still put plenty of leverage force into this without any fear of really slipping wildly in any direction.
On a side note, this is a scorp that's designed by yourself, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes. We'll be talking about these a little bit more in depth in some other videos. And if you catch Zed's video on his new toolkit, they're explaining in a bit more detail there. But this is just basically to get some of the waste out, just quickly and efficiently. And then I'm going to put that down and switch to a straight blade to start refining the shape, just right down to this line. There's lots of techniques for using a straight blade, lots of different ways of getting down to the line. In this case, it's quite a complicated grip. I'm actually pulling and pushing, so I've got lots of control, quite a lot of power. But I'm making sure I stop with some shavings left on, so I don't again drop the blade into the edge of the bowl, because I can come at it from this direction now and work to that line and have no fear of damaging the bowl. But in this case, just to get that turn, just use the very tip of the blade. And again, I'm turning with this hand and pushing with the fingers on this hand, so that it limits the length of the stroke of that cut. We've always got a change of grain direction here, and it's just a matter of creeping up on it, finding out where it starts to lift the grain in the opposite direction, and just then working back towards it until you just remove it cleanly without leaving any sort of feathery bits lurking. I want to get right down to the line there. I want the neck to be quite fine on this spoon, because it's got plenty of thickness to it, plenty of depth to it here. So we're almost there on the handle, just a few more. Okay, so now we just shape the bowl up a little bit. You can see there where I'm coming around here, where that little finger guard on the hand of the knife comes in. So if I do slip off that end grain, the finger guard hits the inside of this thumb knuckle before the blade hits my thumb. Okay, a bit off of this shoulder, just supporting the handle on my chest, and be able to pull the knife towards myself, making sure that the tip of the blade is actually angled away from me. I don't want to be cutting towards myself like this,
right,
with the potential to stab myself. As long as the point of the blade is pointing away from me, I can pull towards myself, and obviously my wrist or the handle of the knife is going to come into contact with my body before the blade ever does. So although it's cutting towards yourself, it's technically quite a safe cut as long as it's executed properly. Then we're just going to carry on with what we were doing with the axe here, really. So taking off this 45-degree angle until we've got a kind of a thickness that we're happy with on the handle. And doing it at 45 degrees means you maintain as much material right in the middle, what we call the keel, on the neck of the spoon, but that can come to a point quite comfortably. Again, there's no real set routine to this for me. I just see where wood needs to come off, take it off, and then have another look, see where more wood needs to come off, and just keep working away until I'm happy that we've got it down to something sensible. Thumb push can come in quite handy when you're coming off the end of the bowl to keep good control, or if there's lots of material to remove, you can use a chest lever, so you've got more force, you can actually get really good control, and it saves that thumb from getting sore, because you will want to be doing this more when you come to your more finishing cuts. And we'll take some of the weight out the back of this bowl here.
Okay, Lee.
Right, so we're getting there, you know, pretty roughly with the shape now. There's still a lot of refining to do, but that's probably, to be honest, the camera's probably not going to pick that up so well. But all I'm looking to do at the moment is really take off any lumpiness, any high spots, anything that looks out of alignment. It's really important to me anyway to make sure that the sort of the tip of the bowl is parallel to the end of the handle, because if it's not, obviously, you know, you're holding the handle parallel, the bowl could be twisted either one way or the other. Sometimes the wood sort of takes that choice out of your hands and twists a bit as it dries. Not a huge amount we can do about that. But in this case, you say I've basically got the shape in now. The back's not too bad. A bit big on this side. So now I've got to really concentrate on this top face. The handle's a bit fat there, so I'm going to get rid of that first. Just bring that round. And then this is still the axed surface here, so what I need to do, first of all, get rid of this line, because even with a template that's drawn nice and symmetrical, or intentionally asymmetrical, the grain will dictate how the design actually looks as much as the shape will. So you could, what I'm getting at is you could draw on a template that you know to be perfectly symmetrical onto a piece of wood with a bit of wonky grain, and then all of a sudden that they just don't work together. So I tend to, at this stage, get rid of my line and work with what I've got. I know I've got pretty close to the line in the initial stages, and you know, I'm not a machine. Every spoon's going to come out individual anyway. The template's just really there as a guide to give me a rough shape to work from. After that, I'll let my eyes take over a little bit, and you know, to some degree the wood itself needs to fit in with the design, and if the design needs altering slightly to fit in with the wood, then at this stage I can do that. But we've got to remember that the grain, we've got to cut in this direction to stay with the grain from the handle end, and with this direction, in this direction, to stay with the grain from the bowl end. So this bit where we change direction, where it's still a little bit scabby, we've got kind of like a sharp change in direction. What we want to do is smooth that out. Part of the reason for pre-hollowing the bowl is so that we're not trying to remove, you know, 1.5 inches worth of timber in one go. So I can just use the tip of the blade on the opposite side of the spoon just to remove the actual rim. I've not invested a huge amount of effort to get a nice shape here, removing all the waste in the middle, because it's already gone. Again, from this side, cutting across the bowl with just using the tip of the blade just to come in and clean up where we've changed direction. Really quite an important bit, this, because this is a bit that will end up in your mouth, so it wants to be nice and clean, and it takes a little bit of practice to work out just exactly where that grain does change direction and where you need to stop cutting from one direction and change and come from the other direction. Okay, so we've done most of the work with a straight knife now. I'm just going to come back in with the smaller scorp just to get rid of the remainder of the waste inside the bowl. At this stage I'm going to try and be a little bit more controlled about it and remove the high spots as I go, so I'm kind of maintaining a fairly smooth interior to the bowl, just because we get the wood's getting a bit thinner now. I don't want to be too aggressive with it, but at the same time I don't want to be too gentle either, because I'd rather expose a weakness in the timber now than further down the line, especially after the spoon's actually found itself a new home. So you can see, to start with, I've been working with the scorp as a right-handed spoon knife and pulling that right out and just twisting at the end to lift out so I don't break away the edge of the bowl. It's quite a fast movement. I'll try and slow it down so that you can see it, but that's got to turn and be exiting almost in a vertical position. And then basically the same from the other side, because I am right-handed. I don't swap hands here. I just turn the knife round and start working in the chest lever grip, or a modified chest lever grip should I say. And then when it comes to trimming around the shoulders here, I normally come at it from here using my thumb as a fulcrum point to push around there. And then I normally strangely hold the tip of the bowl, bracing the spoon on my leg, and do the similar sort of thing from the other side, so I can, mostly so I can see what I'm doing. And as soon as that stops, as soon as that cut stops kind of jumping and jittering, you know you're getting fairly smooth, because you're not catching high points, you're actually taking one nice clean shaving. And what I want to do here is work down, so I've basically got a couple of millimetres of the rim still fairly flat. The main reason for this is because this spoon won't actually be finished in this operation. What I will do is get it to a stage where I'm happy with the overall shape, size, and general depth of the bowl, thickness of the bowl, which is about now. And you can see it's not perfectly smooth around the edges, but it's much harder to actually get really refined cuts when the wood's as wet as this wood is, and it is very wet, this stuff. So what I would generally do is now put this aside for a day or so, just to dry out a little bit, and then go back and do some more refining cuts.
Okay, you good?
Yep, indeed. Right, so just to demonstrate the next kind of stage in true Blue Peter fashion here, this is the one I've just been working on. This is one that I did yesterday. It's been drying overnight. You can see it's been cut to the same kind of dimensions, the same pattern, the same template, but it's a little bit more refined. Now you can also hopefully see these little facets, these dark lines are basically where I've been working it, and the wood's been a bit wet and it kind of picks up a little bit of dirt off your fingers, and the dirt just sticks to the high points. Hopefully that will help us show you just how this next process cleans up those high points and smoothens out the bowl. So this wood's now a lot drier than the one that we've just carved. Hear the difference?
It's a huge difference, yeah.
So if we poked a moisture meter in it, that's going to be 3 times as wet as this at least. Now we've done all the hard work, and we've just got to really go around and clean it up. So this is where the bigger scorp comes in, because you can see now it's pretty much the shape of the inside of that bowl, that blade. So I can work my way in. I'm not going to be taking an enormous shaving with the whole blade at a time, but what I do know is if I just work along and take off these high spots, that then this bowl will A, be nice and smooth, and B, be the right shape inside. I'm working towards myself here, and I'm just again rolling from knuckle to knuckle on this leg. The spoon's pretty much staying still, but the tool again is always exiting vertically. Obviously we've got veins in the wrist here. I don't want to be cutting directly towards that, because if I slip that could be really nasty. So I've got to make sure I get that turning to make sure that blade's lifting up out without any danger to me. You can see now all those dirty marks have gone, or as good as, and the high points are no more. So that's really nice and smooth now. I can turn this round again, and for the opposite side, which didn't show the dirty marks so much, but it's still in exactly the same condition, still a little bit bumpy in places. Just go along, take off any little high spots so we get it nice and smooth. One stage I didn't actually show on the previous one, and it didn't dawn on me till I picked this one up. Also hollow the handle slightly, just so your thumb kind of sits in it. There's a little bit of a bend in your thumb there, and it sits quite nicely in there to make it comfortable to hold on to. So the same thing, we've got this faceted surface which is a bit grubby. Again, another thing with this is you can put your thumb on the back of the blade, on the spine, and work away. You can even, if you need to, work with the grain. Mostly we work across the grain with curved tools, but you can sometimes just clean up by using a stroke that works with the grain where it's appropriate, just to clean out some of that grubbiness and take out some of those facets. In that instance, actually the facets can provide a little bit of extra grip, so I don't go too silly here. But then just to show you where this little blade comes in, when you're doing fiddly little bits like these finials, you can get in right close and be really precise in just tidying up where the bigger knife, as much as it can be done with it, this just, in my eyes, just makes it that little bit easier. You don't want really sharp edges on the edge of the bowl, so I generally just come around again, and when the wood's dry it's far easier to take this really fine shaving. Do this when the wood's wet, the blade's likely to kind of dive into the wood a little bit, take a bigger corner off than you want to, and slightly change the shape of the bowl. But in this case you can see I can just push off a really tiny fine little shaving, just so that we're knocking that corner off so it's not sharp when it's going in and out of your mouth. Same on the tip of the bowl, just come in and lightly remove a little bit of a bevel so it's all nice and comfortable. Same on the back. Anywhere where there's a sharp edge, as a general rule, it's best just to remove it. If you want to maintain the aesthetics of a sharp edge, obviously the less of a bevel you take off, the less evident that it is. So you maintain the look without having the feel. Back of the bowl again, grubby marks where it's all faceted. It's just back to your straight blade, just to literally very smooth, fine cuts, putting pressure down onto the blade with your thumb. I'm almost using this like a plane now, so I'm riding it on the bevel and only picking up any shavings where there's a high spot is the idea. So I'm basically almost rubbing over the surface of the wood with the blade set at an angle so it just engages with any spots that are a bit on the high side.
So guys, there you go, that is a wrap. Lee, thank you so much for that tutorial.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
So,
like I said, yes, can't show the entire process in its entirety, otherwise we'll be here for like 2 hours, you know. So hopefully we still covered pretty much every single aspect of the spoon carving process, and it's great to see you at work.
Thanks.
You know, the little nuances and how you approach the kind of process itself is very different to what I've seen other people do, but it's always good.
yeah, everybody's got their own technique, and we all kind of learn from each other. So I've picked up various things from different people along the ways, and then made my own technique out of everybody else's best bits, if you like. And whatever works for you is what works, as long as you keep all your fingers and turn out some nice spoons at the end of the day.
So far I'm doing it right.
It works.
I'm doing it right then. All my fingers are intact.
That's it.
But like I said, you know, it's a given. I want to put a link to all of Lee's YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Just down below. Are you a Match.com for dating services?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Yes, I'll put.
Don't tell the wife.
Make sure my wife don't watch this video. Joking. Now, what we'll do, we'll put all the links to Lee's stuff. It's a given. And lots of the tools he was using is just one that you've designed and the concept he's come up with. So I will put a link to his website as well, where you can find out more about, you know, getting hold of his tools. And like I said, you know, please leave any comments, feedback, suggestions below. Let us know what you thought. Please go and check over Lee's kind of social media profiles, for which I'll put the links down below this video. And I hope this video, you know, helped you out in your journey. I know I'm going to be watching it quite frequently in order to help me out, and I hope it helps you on your spoon carving journey. So once again, Lee, thank you so much.
Thank you, Zed. It's been a pleasure
for taking the time out. And until the next time, as always, this is Zed. See, look at that, professionals at work here. We just keep on running with the punches. That's what we do, Lee. So, like I said, until the next time, I hope you have a blessed day, a blessed week ahead. Until the next time, this is Zed from Zed Outdoors. Peace out.
See you later.